Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias.
I recently did a video about the Vendetta knife and talked about the history of it and everything else. And in that video, I was showing this knife, which is one made in Pakistan. Now, if you want to know a little bit more about the history of this pattern, I will link to that video at the end of this video, so you can go back and check that out. I really did like this knife. It is made in Pakistan, so I knew that the blade steel wasn't the greatest, even though it is a cool looking Damascus and the pattern is fairly decent. It just doesn't get that sharp. And in that video, though, I mentioned that I knew that Cudeman also made a Vendetta knife, or a knife that I assumed was a Vendetta knife because it looks very similar to it. And they have two different versions of it. One of them does not have a bolster. It's olive wood all the way to the top. The other one had the bolster. And for the longest time, the reason I was trying to decide on which one I was going to buy is, did I want it with or without the bolster? Will I be picking up the other one later? Who knows? I don't know. At the moment, I'm not planning on it, but I picked this one up shortly after finishing the review of this one online. And in this video, though, I mentioned that I wonder if the Damascus steel blade in this is better than the 420 steel blade in the Cudeman. And I can tell you right now, the Cudeman's 420 definitely beats the Damascus whatever in the Pakistan knife. It is a much sharper blade right out of the box, and it's much easier to sharpen. But in any case, what I wanted to do now is talk a little bit about this knife, do a little bit of a comparison between this one, because this one is definitely much showier with that acrylic cover on there, and obviously it has the file work going on in the back, which doesn't look too bad, and it also has the work bolster, which is a probably a carbon steel bolster similar to the Damascus blade. You know, very nice though. But this has your satin finish on a stainless steel bolster. As I mentioned before, the blade steel in here is a 420 blade steel. It is an olive wood, a handle material that I really do like quite a bit. And Cudeman makes quite a few knives in olive wood, and I bought several of them. So I kind of knew what the quality was going to be like ahead of time because of all the other Cudemans I had bought. Now, this knife cost me 3 times as much as this one. This one goes into the $30 range. So it is still definitely a budget line of knife by many people's standards. But for some people, $30 is creeping into their mid-range. I know a lot of people, it isn't, it's a budget knife all the way up to $100, but not in my book and not in other people's books. So this is definitely, let's just put it this way, a Cudeman is going to cost you more than a Rough Rider, and it's going to cost you more than most of the other budget knives that are coming out of China, at least when it comes to a slip joint. But they are, in my opinion, well worth the price that you're paying. As you can see, if you're looking for perfect no gap in the back spring, well, there are little signs of gapping, so you will see some light pass through. But as far as the covers go, the brass is very smooth. The pins, very smooth in with the olive wood. The meet up with the stainless steel bolster is perfect all around. It's just fantastic. The fit is really good. You can see the little gap right there where the liner is versus the bolster. But the lockup is really firm and it is tight. You need to really push the brake, which is something that I don't know if you can see it down in there. Can you see it right there? There is a little bump there, and that is where the pivot actually locks under the back spring, which is what this knife was supposed to also do, but does not do. This one just catches right there, and it's easy to break because it does not lock the way it's supposed to. It's kind of it's not a true lock. It's more like a half lock or a quasi lock that they put on there, but it does mean that you have a much harder break at the beginning when you go to close it. Now it's easy enough. You just close it and then let it go down. You notice not the best walk and talk on this, but the blade is not going to hit when it does drop. I have not oiled this or anything yet either, so with a little action, it will start working a little smoother, but you do have to push it all the way down. That's not a big problem for me, and especially with this knife, because it feels good in the hand. You do have a little bit of a bump there. It's not as pronounced as it is on this knife. I guess you could actually take a grinder and work on it if you wanted to get that bigger bump there, but it does let you know where your hand is sitting on the handle. Now the handle itself is just over 4 inches, I believe. Okay, let's break out the ruler and see if it makes me a liar or not. I'll come in here at actually closer to 4 1/4 inches long, so it's a little longer than your standard trapper, which surprises me because the the seller listed it at 4 inches. So that's one of the problems you have online with, especially with some of the eBay sellers. They give you inaccurate numbers. One of the reasons I was looking at this one over the Cudeman and several other ones is this one was listed at 4 1/4 or 4 3/8 inches. So I thought it was a little bit bigger, but actually it turns out that it is about the same length as the Cudeman. Blade wise, let's see here. Right at 3 1/2 inches for the blade on this one. And the Cudeman, probably about the same. Yeah, just slightly shorter than the blade on this one. But the Cudeman's has a much sleeker look to it. And also it has a much longer cutting edge, if you notice there. When you look at the cutting edge on the Cudeman, it's about 1/4 inch longer than it was on the one made in Pakistan using the Damascus blade. Also, the Cudeman is using their 420 steel, and I know a lot of people poo-poo 420 steel, but Cudeman has a very good 420 steel in their blade. I rank it right up there with what you're seeing in a buck and stuff. So yes, you will need to sharpen it more often than you would like a 440C or an ATS 34 or a VG10, or go on and go on and go on with higher end steels. But the Cudeman is going to do just fine with most people's daily cutting. What I found also interesting here is what you're seeing there, that this is actually listed as Vendetta. Cudeman Vendetta, made in Spain. But anyway, the build quality of this is what I expect of any of the other Cudeman knives. There you have the blade alignment, which is not too shabby. The wood, the olive wood, comes a little dry. This is an older pattern, so it might have been sitting in the store for a while. What I do with olive wood is I just hit it with some olive oil. I oil olive wood with olive oil. That means that it is still going to be food grade and everything. And the wood will soak up the olive wood or the olive oil. And it gives that little bit of a scent of olive wood, but you already have a little bit of a scent with olive wood anyway. So, and I have not noticed anything like rot or anything with it. So that's what I use. I don't know. Other people probably just use regular mineral oil. But anyway, I was very impressed with this. Slight hollow grind on the blade, and it came screaming sharp, especially when compared to this, because I know you're not going to see it online here or anything, but I did do a paper test between the two of these. This one is very rough and shoddy. This one is much smoother, much cleaner with the cuts. So this one is definitely going to do a better job slicing tomatoes or anything else that I might have a vendetta against, versus this one, which is kind of a rough and ragged. And I have attempted to sharpen this one, and it does not sharpen easily because the quality of the heat treat on so much of the Pakistani Damascus is pretty poor. And also, well, I don't know. This is definitely the better knife, at least build-wise. If you're into olive wood, it would be a better handle material. The pluses to this knife is I do like the flatter bottom on this one versus the rounded bottom on the Cudeman Vendetta. I also like the neck here on this one a little bit better than the Cudeman. I wish this had a more exaggerated bump here. This one is almost swooping into the body of the blade. You know, it's just not as clean. Also, I can, when I'm gripping this, my finger does feel the edge of the channel where the blade drops. It's much more distinct. This one, and that might have something to do with just the build quality. This one, well, no, I can feel it too, so not as noticeable when I'm grabbing it though. This one obviously has a skinnier handle too, up at the top part there, but you can definitely firmly grip either knife. The difference is because of the way this one locks, you have less of a chance of this slip joint closing on you simply because of that bump in there. That bump in there really makes all the difference because it does get in and underneath the back spring there, so that it is a semi-lock on that blade, and that really does help. It gives you a little bit more confidence in there. Obviously, still, if you're trying to thrust with it, you have a strong potential for the blade to close on you simply because, well, there is no true lock on the blade, but it is a firmer hold open than what you have on many other slip joints out there. And that is something you find on like L'Aiguilles and other knives made in Europe. And it's something that I think more American knife companies probably should have thought about doing. That little bump, it really does make a bit of a difference. And it turns the knife into a semi-lock at least. Any case, with that said, if you want to learn more about Vendetta knives, I will link to this, the original video on this knife at the end of this video. With that said, let me just cut to some slides and I'll talk to you again soon.
let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.